So what's the biggest mistake a GM can make? Let's get into it. I've seen a number of discussions online along the lines of, my players aren't doing what I want them to. Whether it's the players completely ignoring the main plot, killing everything they come across, interrogating every minor enemy, or even just making character choices the GM doesn't agree with. Approaching the game with this godlike view, in my opinion, is the biggest mistake a GM can make. Tabletop role-playing games are collaborative. The GM may have more control and may be doing a lot of the heavy lifting with the plot, but the GM is not God. They may play a god on occasion, but they are not God. Yes, you are running the game. You may even have created the world and system that you're running in, but you aren't the only person playing the game. If you want to have complete control over what's going on, go write a book or play a solo tabletop role-playing game, although even those you may not have complete control. Some of the fun of being a GM is being surprised by your players. That is one of the things that I absolutely love and look forward to in games. I try to anticipate what my players might do, and I do feel a little smug when I nail it, and also pleasantly surprised when they find a solution I never thought about. But I, as the GM, am not God. Yes, I have taken a leadership role, and I am kind of more in charge of the game than anybody else. I like to think of it of growing up, my parents let us make a lot of decisions, but they also had the veto power. So as the GM, I can, have veto power, but I can let my players make a lot of their decisions. Your gaming group should be collaborating as you tell this story and create this world and these characters together. And then, as you need to, as the GM, you can use that veto power. Step in and enforce a rule. Redirect the group back towards the main plot. Sometimes you'll be able to do it in character, in the world of the game, but sometimes you might have to step out and have a conversation with your players. Now, if your players are constantly ignoring the plot, I've made an entire video about ways to get them back to the storyline, so you can go check that out if you're needing help there. And ultimately, you can always just chat with your players. Find out if it's because they misunderstood and if there's a way for you to be clearer where the story leads, or if they're just not maybe interested in the story you've created. Yeah, it's gonna suck to find that out, but it's probably going to be better in the long run to know that and find a way to fix it or abandon that plot and then spend session after session trying to strong-arm players into a game they just don't want to play. Along these same lines, make sure you're telling your players what the overall intention of feel of the game is at the beginning, and ideally also when you're recruiting new players. This is going to allow you to have that control, and everybody is going to be on the same page for what they expect, and you can play the game that you want to play, and they can feel like they're playing in the game they want to play. I want to give a big thanks to all of our patrons, especially Sean. If you want to pick up some really cool perks and support our channel, support us making more videos, you can head on over to patreon.com/rollforinitiative and pick your patron level today. All right, let's get back to the video. Something I think that can get forgotten because the Game Master has so much heavy lifting to do is that the players are probably just as important as the Game Master. Everyone should find the game enjoyable. And players, talk to your GM. If you're getting frustrated because you feel like you can't figure out what you're supposed to be doing, or you're feeling like you're being forced into storylines you aren't interested in pursuing, tell them. You can't fix a problem until it's addressed. And my final point with some of this, approaching GMing as I'm all powerful, is play by the same rules as your players. I've been in a game or two where it felt like the Game Master was using essentially a different set of rules, that there were things that they were having just happen and it didn't make sense mechanic-wise, and that just doesn't feel fun. If you really need something to happen, get creative. Find ways to maybe tweak a rule so it still fits within the mechanics of the system without just kind of throwing the rules out the window. And if you really do need to just kind of have something happen. Maybe that's something that you just kind of let your players know. This is really important for the story. I couldn't figure out the mechanics of it, but this happens. I kind of did that once and was like, I don't quite understand how this works mechanically, but here are a bunch of the parts and it works. And maybe if you guys get to level 20, you could do this too. Kind of that like, this is capable in the world, but not at the experience level that the player's characters are at. So what about you? Do you think this is the biggest mistake a GM can make, or is there something else? Let's chat about it down in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos geared towards Game Masters, you can check out our GM Diaries playlist. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative. Bye! Your gaming group should collaborate, and when you need to, as the GM,